There's actually water coming out of it. Fun. Hey everyone, so we're back on the 1882. The next step is to address the transmission fluid issue. The pump hasn't sounded too good the whole time, and let's see if I can get, yeah, there's the fluid. It's pretty foul, and when it warms up you can see all the moisture that's in it. So before I run it too much more, I'm going to drain the fluid, clean out the case, and put a new filter in it. So we're ready to get started. First step is to take off the rear hitch plate. So we got some 9/16 head 3/8 bolts here. I want to loosen those up already and pull those off. So the major considerations from the introduction video were what's the transmission like and what's the engine like. So all of the hydraulics on this work. The power steering works, the center lift works, and the drive works, forward and reverse. The linkage in the drive, the notorious Cub Cadet trunnion wear is definitely there, and I'll do that in another video. But it needs some adjustment. Neutral is not actual. Well, when you push down the brake pedal, neutral is not actually neutral. So there's some external linkage issues along with it. It's a pretty high hour tractor. The hour meter read 1,136, I think, but the hour meter was not working when I got it. So who knows how long the hour meter was bad in this thing. So there's the rear cover off. 4 bolts, comes right off. So we've got a housing here, and we're going to pull this off and see what it looks like inside. Probably not good. Not particularly leaky. It doesn't look too bad as far as that goes. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, there's pine needles just covering this thing up here. It must have sat under a pine tree forever. Been a while since those came out. In there. Might need to grab a mallet. Not much of a lip to grab on there. I'm not tapping very hard, it's just kind of going by sound as much as anything else. Oh, there it goes. Ooh. That's water. That's water coming out of the bottom of it now. Oh, wow. I don't know if you can see that. Actually, water coming out of it. Oh. Fun. Yeah, one rag ought to do it just fine. One rag. Always be prepared. One rag. Should be fine. Oh, that stuff is foul. Wow. So there's what we have there. What is that? That's the top. So there's the top of the case. You can see where all the condensation from the heat. And at the top, it's all watery up there. The dipstick looked like that too when it was running. And there's some various chunks of stuff in there. Yeah, definitely not pretty. Wow. All right. So now that it's opened up and draining, I'm gonna go grab some rags. We'll wipe all this out in here. And while we're back here, we're gonna check the bolts. The bolt from the frame to the rear end. They're notorious for stripping out, getting loose and stripping out. And these are an aluminum. Pretty sure it's aluminum rear ends. So yeah, they don't like that very much. So yeah, we'll see what we can do. I'll go clean it out and we'll put the case cover back on, snug everything up. I didn't buy a gasket. My thought was to just use some RTV. So there's going to be quite a bit of cleanup here. So after about an hour of cleaning, scraping, and basic grunt work that nobody really wants to see. Maybe you do. Let me know. The 1882 is now ready for the rear cover to go back on and for things to move along. So let me show you, first of all, where we're at here. So I got all of the old fluid out and cleaned off the gasket surfaces, and then I went and I chased each thread or each hole on the case there just to make sure everything was cleaned out. And I was constantly getting fluid pouring out this way, so in the process of cleaning, I ended up jacking up the front end of the tractor to get most of the fluid out, and then once I got close to reassembly, I actually jacked up the rear end, put it on jack stands there, so that that pool of fluid in there doesn't mess with the gasket installation. So gasket surfaces are clean, bolt holes are chased, and I went through each bolt and chased each bolt. And then I looked at the original washers, and they're really, really thin and distorted. And since I'm not using a gasket here, I'm just using RTV. I'm gonna put some new washers on there, a little thicker. help spread the load on the bolts a little bit better so it doesn't mess up the cover. So cover's clean, ready to go. I loosened up the filter just to drain as much out of the transmission as I could. So right now what we'll do is we'll put the cover back on, torque it down, and then we'll go underneath and we'll pull the filter, put a new filter in, then we'll put it back on the ground and add fluid and start it up. Okay, here we go. Here's the cover, cleaned it off, and it does look like they were, some of the bolt holes were over torqued before. You can see that on the camera, but it's, the washers definitely were distorted and so was the cover, so hopefully this will help out a little bit. They're two small bolts, or they're only like a 1/16 inch smaller than the other ones, and there's looks like two blind holes at the very bottom here that are pretty shallow. So I'm thinking that the smaller ones actually go on the bottom, which I would prefer not to be the case. But I'm going to check the depth of one of these long ones here first. I would like for the long ones to be in the bottom. They were so different, the difference in length was so minimal that I didn't notice it when I took it off. But if this will, yeah, that'll run all the way in. So put the long ones there. I don't see any reason. Maybe it's, I'm going to call it the two top ones since I didn't pay attention. And then someone can flame me in the video comments and let me know why I did it wrong. So we're going to take the two short ones, set them up top. Looks like that should be a decent amount of thread engagement there. I had the RTV setting up here just so it would kind of cure a little bit while I was messing around. Make sure I didn't leave a rag in there. Okay, I think we're fine. So in addition to chasing the bolt holes, I also chase the threads on the bolts themselves. They're pretty, you can tell, yeah, they're pretty clean. So everything's threading in by hand, which is nice. They all wanted to come out with an impact, so they weren't coming out by hand before. I should have 3 left. I only have 2. Where's the? I got 4 there. Oh, I'm missing 1. Should be 2, 4, 6, 8. There should be 9, and I only have 8. I found it. I'm an idiot. It was over on the vise. I had it over there. I just didn't do anything with it. Uh-oh. Oh, I haven't chased the threads on this one yet. Or is it the cover that's a little wonky? Might be the cover because I can see the threads look okay. It just doesn't want to start. Let me chase the threads on this real quick just to be safe. And then we'll put that in. But there's a little divot in the cover right here I can see. And it might be screwing me. Okay. Ready to go. Hopefully, as long as the cover doesn't fight me right there. Looks like it's going in straight. What's going on there? Yeah, it's that cover. Never had this on there, ever tightened it and distorted that section of the cover, so the very edge of that bolt's just snagging on the side of the cover where it's been dented in. Okay, so I'll just go by crisscrossing it. Now this, I've never done one of these covers before. I'm used to the cast iron rear ends. I have a solid plate instead of a stamped steel cover like this. So I'm not entirely sure if this will work without a gasket. I assumed it would because I've done the cast iron ones before without a gasket and they were fine. I know this is not exactly crisscross, I'm just kind of doing it by feel. Again, feel free to flame me in the comments if you don't like my methods. Right now I'm just going by feel, and I'm just putting enough hand pressure on it that I can feel them starting to snug up. The stamped steel cover like this, you don't want to severely over torque them. So, but I am going to be going back around and checking the torque on each one of these, making sure they're all even. Not that I know what the torque spec is, but I'll make it up. I'm going to treat it like a transmission pan in a car. Okay, so this is still, did I zero it out? No, shame on me, I didn't zero it out. I just did the head gasket torque on this the other day, so it was set to 1520. So let's go at 10 foot-pounds. We're going to walk around it at 10 foot-pounds and see where it's at. I don't think we'll be going much tighter than that anyway. Where's... Oh, it's over there. Excuse me. Pardon me. That's not even there yet. Let's back it off to 5. It's not even there yet. Wow. It really doesn't want much, does it? It's starting to snug up. I can feel it. Oh, there we go. Finally. That's 5. That's 5. 5 is technically out of the range of this torque wrench, so it's probably not extremely accurate there, but I'm more using the torque wrench as a way to confirm my kind of intuitive feel for what these should be. If I'm going to guess, I don't want to go above 10 foot-pounds here. Not without a gasket to take up the slack. No. Getting any. This has a huge lip on the back of it, so I'm not going to be able to tell if the RTV is really pushing out because there's a huge lip there. So, I am going to go, I'm going to try 10 and see what I get. Okay, we'll go back around, Make sure they've all stayed relatively close. Okay. Looks kind of ugly with those washers on there, but I'm not going to bother putting the hitch plate on just yet. Just in the event that I've got a leak back here, I'll be able to tell if I've got a leak a lot easier without the hitch plate in place. So we will go underneath and replace the filter, and then we'll jack it up, put it back on the ground, fill it up, and then we'll test it, see how it does. Okay, here we are. You can see the jack stands holding it up. So the rear end's pointed forward, getting some of the fluid away from the sealing surface. Here's the filter. I've already come across here with a strap wrench and tried to break it loose, and it finally came loose, but it's been on there a while, so I'll show you. I'll take it off. That's a tight fit in here. They have a cross member that runs right in front of the filter, so as you're trying to spin the filter off, there's probably going to be some stuff coming out, I would assume. Yeah, the filter, actually, it's been on there a while. I don't know if you can see it in the, it's just out of the light. Let me show you. It was actually starting to rust. So, pretty crusty, pretty old. So, let's get a little bit of fresh, well, not fresh, but I'll get a little bit of this oil here. Put it on this guy here. And I've actually already cleaned the mating surface behind the filter, so they get pretty gross. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. I never really tried. Yeah, there you go. There we go. I'm using a Stens filter as a cross to the Cub Cadet filter. There's a lot of cross-reference filters out there, but you got to use a hydraulic filter, not a automotive style one. A lot of people replace these with standard automotive style filters, and yeah, it's bad news when that happens. Okay, filters in. Old one's out. Here's a look at the shop. I got stuff everywhere. I don't typically like to work like this, but I'm trying to get it done tonight. So I'm going to bring you in back where we were before. I'll put it on the ground. We'll put some fluid in it, and then we'll test it. See how it does. Okay, so we're ready to put it on the ground and see what it does. A couple things I learned. The paint on the inside of that case does not like brake clean. So if you're going to clean out that case, be careful, because the brake clean will start dissolving the paint and causing paint flakes to start getting all over the place. And yeah, paint flakes are no good for a hydraulic system. So man, I just can't stop dropping stuff. That's gonna make a mess. Okay, so I've got a fluid pump here, and I'm pumping straight down into the top of the tank. Check this out. this is the fluid. That's the fluid that came out of it. That's a lot of water in there. Should be about 7 quarts of fluid if the manual's correct. So let's get started on pumping this in. I actually had the fluid sitting next to the wood stove to get it nice and warm. So hopefully this pumps relatively quickly. What kind of fluid am I putting in here, Justin? Oh, of course. It's the magical Hytran that everybody says you should be putting in your Cub Cadet. It's not. Especially not for a first service. Yeah, it's flowing pretty quick. I think we're doing okay. Oh. Now we just play the waiting game and see if we have any leaks. Should have enough oil in there. We should start seeing some leaks. I'll put a, let's see, put a piece of cardboard under there or something. What, I don't have any cardboard in here? Man. I'll just do this and we'll check. Okay, now we just wait. It's not pouring out, so that's good. Let me get a dry rag. Make sure I get that cleaned up. I had forgotten how time-consuming this is. It's a simple job, but it's really time-consuming once you figure in all the prep work you got to do to get it back together. Figure if I'm going to see a leak anywhere, it'll be down here. Yeah, we've gotten almost 2 quarts in out of the 7, so that's not bad. Oh yeah, one last thing. That dipstick looks terrible, like the threads are completely chewed up on it, and I don't know how that happens. Like, how do these plastic threads get so chewed up? So I'm going to have to be getting a new one of these eventually, I'm pretty sure. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and fill it up, and then we'll start it up, check to make sure we don't have any major leaks, and yeah, that's pretty much how you service a rear end on a Cub. I don't know if you noticed while we were in there, but it's a pretty stout rear end. It's like the signature to the Cub Cadet line is, you know, they were a fantastic drive line for a small tractor. I mean, the size of the ring gear alone would tell you it's definitely able to handle what the tractor can throw at it. Okay, so it's pretty well topped off. Let me check it again. It might need a hair more, but it's getting late and I need to get inside. So here's the fluid. Oh man, that light's just it's gonna be really hard to see. You can see how much cleaner it is than what came out though. So far so good. No leaks under here. Everything looks pretty dry. We'll have to see what happens overnight. We'll go ahead and fire it up, make sure everything works. And then, yeah, we're going to call it a night. looks like the service was a success. We'll check tomorrow for some leaks, make sure. Like I said, I didn't use a gasket on the rear end there on the cover. I just used some RTV. But the hydro definitely doesn't have the whine that it did before. Looking at the fluid that was in it, it was due. So, thanks for watching, everybody. This is a transmission service on an 1882 Super Cub Cadet, 1990 model. And we'll keep moving forward with the build. Thanks for watching.